This is Legacy of Battle. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification button. I'm Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King, Steelers Nation South, Rollo Coffin, and Legacy Battle's own film specialist. Welcome back to Stephen King. Tonight's debate is going to be the greatest hockey film in the comedy genre, and we are joined by an actress, writer, musician. She has starred in franchises such as Slapshot, Final Destination, Fast and Furious, TV shows, Republic of Doyle, Falcon Beach, Virgin River, and she's guested on huge hits like ER, X-Files, Smallville. Check it out behind me. So we got two-time Gemini Award nominee, three-time Leo Award nominee. Welcome, Lynda Boyd. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
As always, we're going to have a Q&A for her about her career after our debate. Our honorable mentions tonight, films that just missed the list, The Goon 2 and Mighty Ducks 2. But we are going to start out tonight here with, well, let's go Brian and Mystery Alaska.
All right, Mystery Alaska came out in 1999, 6.7 on the IMDb meter there. It grossed about 9 million. The big names in this flick are Russell Crowe, Burt Reynolds, and Michael Myers. Cole Meany is also in this one as well. I've always liked him. But Burt Reynolds has a bit of a surprising role in this. He's sort of a stoic town judge, which is definitely different from his usual carefree characters that he plays. So anyways, Mystery's a small town in Alaska, and the entire population is just dedicated to hockey. They have a weekly tradition called the Saturday Games, which is a 4-on-4 hockey game played out on a local pond in front of everybody. So a former resident who became a TV producer in New York, he gets this story of this tradition printed in Sports Illustrated. And in this story, claims are made that the Mystery team could take on any team in the NHL. So backdoor deals are made, and the New York Rangers are headed to Mystery to challenge this ragtag group. In anticipation of this monumental event, the town mayor, played by Cole Meany, he pours all the town's money into preparation. But word comes back that the players on the Rangers have filed a grievance, and the game may not happen. One of the town elders, played by Maury Chaykick, and one of the players, they head down to New York to represent Mystery and plead their case. And during his speech, he cries out, I know it's one of Mike's favorite lines, he loves the game of hockey. But unfortunately, after he says that, he has a heart attack and he dies. And so the Rangers must have felt bad for him or something, but they decide to drop the grievance and the game is back on. So jumping right into the game, Mystery, they jump to a 2-0 lead into the first. The second period, though, the Rangers figure some things out. 5 unanswered goals. Mystery rallies in the third, but with the clock running out, a shot hits the crossbar and they lose 5-4. But still, they win the respect of everyone watching, including the Rangers. Some cool small roles in this. We had ESPN's Barry Melrose, hockey legend Phil Esposito, and singing the national anthem, the architect of rock and roll himself, Little Richard. So I'm kind of torn between which moment was the funniest in this flick. Either there was one when a hockey player shoots the Price Smart rep in the foot. You have Sarah beating Skank with a snow shovel for saying she looks like a wet walrus in bed. And or there's also the one where the team forces one player who broke the locker room code to skate naked on the pond and slide into a snowbank crotch first. So lots of funny moments in this lighthearted comedy, cool sports story of a team trying to pull off the impossible. So that's Mystery Alaska.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So I understand, Lynda, that you worked with Russell Crowe on Republic of Doyle. So just maybe tell us a little bit about him and your thoughts on. I heard you got a story about this film.
Right. Okay. So Russell came out in 2011 to St. John's, Newfoundland, where we filmed Republic of Doyle. And he was in our first episode of season 3. It was, we're all kind of going, oh my God, it's Russell Crowe. And then we were sitting around doing a table read, and just as soon as you started talking, it's like that voice, it's so deep, and that episode featured the guys that were his merry men in Robin Hood, the movie he did with Ridley Scott. So the story about these merry men goes back to Mystery, Alaska. Apparently, when there's a base camp in movies, there's a bunch of trailers and, some people tend to play music really loud in their trailer. And Kevin Durand was playing Great Big Sea, which is the band from Newfoundland featuring Alan Doyle as lead singer. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Russell Crowe came out of his trailer and went, "Oh my God, I love this music. Who are these guys?" And so that became Russell's, infatuation with Great Big Sea and Alan Doyle. And then I don't know how the two of them met, but I guess Russell wanted to meet him and they started hanging out as friends. And then Scotty Grimes, Kevin Durand, Russell Crowe, when they were working on Mystery Alaska, they used to have sing-alongs. And so then they got Alan Doyle involved, and they sort of, I don't even know if they had a name for their group, but I've seen them perform live and they're fantastic. And Russell, they did this thing called a garden party in Newfoundland when Russell was out, where they would sing songs that they'd written and other songs, and then Russell would tell stories about how Alan Doyle from Great Big Sea had never been in a movie before, and how he didn't understand just even the basics of like hitting a mark on the floor and saying a line. He didn't know any of that stuff. But anyway, that's how they all became the merry men in Robin Hood, is through Mystery Alaska.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. Awesome.
And all four of them, Alan Doyle, Russell Crowe, Scotty Grimes, and Kevin Durand, guest starred in episode 1 of season 3 of Doyle. They played, we think they're bad guys, we think they're crooks, and our whole basis of our show is that we were a family of private investigators. As it turned out, they were all undercover cops trying to bust a drug ring or something. I can't even remember what the deal was, but yeah, so all four of them were on the show. It was great. Great fun.
Well, let's move on to our second film, and that's going to be me. I'm taking The Mighty Ducks. Okay, it came out October 2nd, 1992.
Whoa.
So going a ways back, yeah. Box office 50.8 million on a budget of 14 million. So it was a success. And if we're going back to 92, 50 million was a lot more back then than it is now. So,
Yeah.
But starring Emilio Estevez, Joshua Jackson, and Marguerite Moreau. It's your typical sports comedy, ragtag bunch of poor kids. District 5, was their name, who aren't very good. They get a new coach who is a rich attorney, but, he grew up in the game of hockey. He finds himself, he lost himself. He finds himself by becoming a coach.
Right.
And I'm not going to give a ton about the film here, but, the plot at least. But, he's also up against his former coach, so that throws a nice little wrinkle in. And the only thing that Coach Bombay is his name, Emilio Estevez in it, and he definitely changed throughout the years. But when he was a kid, he was on the hockey team and he missed the penalty shot, and that kind of comes full circle in the end of this when he has grown so much by the end from coaching these kids that he realizes that win or loss, that's not what matters. Trying your best is what matters. And that's a typical theme that we see in sports films.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The movie spawned 2 sequels, a cartoon, and a TV show. The franchise itself is still going pretty strong. So, and this show is, it's got some funny parts. Usually involves a lot of bad hockey playing. It's funny, especially for, some of those guys who played hockey. Anytime Averman talks, it's funny. Goldberg, the goalie, learning when you have the proper equipment on that the puck doesn't hurt. That's funny, like beforehand. And, the show is called Legacy Battle. So if we're talking legacy, this might have the most lasting legacy of any of the films we're talking tonight, because it is the Mighty Ducks movie is responsible for the NHL team, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Now they're just the Ducks now, but that's a legacy that will outlast all other films, that we're talking about here today. So your thoughts on this film, but also, like, I'm sure you have, what's it like to work with child actors? Is it make it a little more frustrating, or, how does that go?
Well, I've had a lot of children in the movie TV world, tons. They're the ones that are like, there's always a parent on set as a chaperone. And so they range they kind of range from the kids that are really grounded like I just did a movie last summer and the kid playing my grandson, I think he was 10 years old. Super grounded kid. It was only his second project ever. And his dad was there every single day. So that was like a very calm little boy. Like he just was interested in learning how to do film and TV, and he was really good at it. But I did an episode of a TV version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There was a series that used to shoot out in Calgary in 1999, and there was some precocious children on that particular episode where you're kind of going, it makes you think, don't let children be in film and TV because it really comes down to how the parenting is. So,
Right.
yeah.
You worked with Amanda Bynes, and you know, we all saw kind of how she broke down from all the pressures and stuff. So yeah, you just never know. But what were your thoughts on the Mighty Ducks movie?
Well, I love those kind of movies too. Like there's they remind me of Bad News Bears, which was a movie about baseball. Similar idea with Walter Matthau playing the disgruntled coach or reluctant coach. Um, what was the other? Oh, one of my favorite of these kind of genre is this genre is Kicking and Screaming. Did you ever see that with Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell, yeah.
Where he's competing with his father because his father puts him down all the time, and he starts drinking coffee and he gets emboldened by the caffeine, and then he turns into this lunatic. Love that. Yeah, the Mighty Ducks, I love it. Just it's all in the same sort of wheelhouse for me of those movies where you start cheering for the underdog.
Right.
These are the kids that don't have, they're the have-nots, and then they learn, you know, it's not about whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And I find myself saying that to my 11-year-old grandson who plays hockey 4 or 5 times a week. And I often go to his games. Sometimes I pick him up at 6 in the morning and take him to his practice and then get him to school. And, you know, there have been games like he had a game last Thursday night where it was 5-0 for his team. And, you know, you come in, you know, it's just you played really hard and it's not, you know, not about the number on the scoreboard. And he's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, ultimately at the end of the day it is, but yeah. Yeah.
Nice try,
Well,
Grandpa.
yeah. Well, let's move on to our third film. Go ahead, Rollo.
I got Slapshot. It's a 1977 film directed by George Hill, written by Nancy Dowd, who was also an uncredited writer on North Dallas 40. This is a film made on a budget of $6 million and grossed $28 million at the box office. Despite its small numbers at the box office, Slapshot is regarded as a cult classic. And I feel guilty that I didn't watch it until this past weekend. The movie stars Paul Newman, who was a player coach of the Charlestown PA Chiefs. They are a struggling minor league team, hockey team, and player coach Dunlap tries to motivate the team by telling them the team is moving to Florida, even though its story is completely made up. Enter the Hanson brothers, played by real-life NHL, WHA hockey players Jeff Carlson, Steve Carlson, and David Hanson. They play hockey aggressively and thuggishly, but the fans enjoy this style of play, and it takes a while for some of the other players to join in some of the aggressive play. Some of the funniest moments are as a result of the players starting huge brawls, like the one that takes place before the opening face-off, and another when a heckler throws some keys at one of the Hanson brothers and hits him in the head. The brothers then go on the stand, seeking out the heckler, punching fans along the way. The police wind up coming to the locker room, and the Hansons are arrested. They actually are laughing that they get arrested. They're excited. In 1998, Maxim would name Slapshot the best guy movie of all time. In 2007, November issue of GQ named Slapshot the best sports film of the last 50 years.
Impressive. So, Lynda, you're part of this franchise. You've worked with the Hanson brothers.
Yeah.
Like, tell me how crazy they are, and you know your thoughts on the original movie, of course.
Oh, I think that movie is the best sport movie. I love it so much. I love everything about that movie. Those guys, when they came to do Slapshot 3, I'm not sure what year, sorry, was Slapshot original shot in?
Kind of in 70s.
71?
77.
77, so 87, 97, 77, 87, 97, 2006, I think we shot number 3. So almost 30 years later. Those guys looked exactly the same. They were super nice guys, like really nice guys. I think one of them runs a hockey school in Minnesota, or at the time he did. I mean, this was 2006. I don't know where the time goes. But they like to play golf in their off time. But and they do a lot of charity stuff. Like they'll do charity golf events everywhere they can, and they're just super nice guys. The whole, I don't know if you've seen Slapshot 3, but they've decided not to be enforcers anymore and brutes. They've decided to find the mellow within. And we had, oh my gosh, I'm just remembering some stuff. The house that they were living in, when I walked up onto the porch to knock on their door and basically say, because I was playing this real estate developer and I wanted their house because I'm going to tear down the whole town and make a development. I don't give a crap about hockey. They had a dream catcher hanging from the porch. And so when I marched up to the thing and I looked at the screen catcher and I punched it out of my way, knocked on the door. Well, they didn't like that. The director made me cut that because they thought that was, I don't know what they thought. And then one of them, my character drove a black Hummer. My name was Bernie. I was a real estate developer and I drove a black Hummer. And one of them ad-libbed a line after I asked them, you know, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember the plot. Like, was I asking them to play for I can't remember anything about it. Sorry. But they had to take the word Hummer out of the script because it means something else in some cultures.
Right. Yep.
One of the producers came up and went, hey, guys, you can't say that word anymore. You can't say that word. And we're like, it's a car. It's actually a car. It's a brand. It's got the word Hummer on it. Anyway, that was another behind the scenes thing that happened in that show that I thought was pretty funny. But those guys were great. We used to shoot stuff out at this ice rink in Surrey, which is like a suburb of Vancouver. They could get the rink for cheap, I guess, from midnight till 8 in the morning. So we were often shooting those kind of hours. It was a bit discombobulating because, you're kind of driving home when everybody was going to work. But yeah, that's about it for that movie. I honestly don't remember much. I have my own copy. And at one point, I think I put a little clip. Actually, it's still on my demo reel. When I come in at the very end and I'm on a speaker and I'm telling them that those orphans we're making stuff up and nobody's been looking after them and blah, blah, blah. And I remember I had a really bad cold that day. We had to keep doing that scene over and over and over again because there were so many people they had to keep turning around on and getting reaction shots from everybody. But anyway, I had a great time on the movie. I had lots of fun on that one.
Well, let's go to our final film. Steven, what are you bringing us?
I had the film Goon, which was made in 2011, starring Sean William Scott, Jay Baruchel, Alison Pill, Eugene Levy, and his nemesis, who's played by Liev Schreiber. Tons of actual NFL players in this movie: Tyler Seguin, Michael Del Zotto, Brandon Proust, Colton Orr, and former Penguin George LaRocque, which I was excited to see. Rotten Tomatoes had 81% critics and 71% audience score. It was a $7 million take against a $12 million budget, which was kind of amazed whenever I found that out and that they greenlit a sequel for it. But both movies were very, very good. The plot, story of a quintessential tough guy who is recruited to be the enforcer or goon for the local minor league hockey franchise via a fight that he gets in at the local rink that ends up on the news. Upon entering the league, he is met by Ross Ray, who's played by Liev Schreiber, who's a legendary enforcer who was in the NHL and is kind of on his way towards retirement. I thought it was a very inspirational story of finding purpose and using talents that would normally be seen as aggressive in a healthy and productive way and changing the guard that happens every few years in sports. It also has a big focus on addiction with LaFlemme's character and kind of the dichotomy of the two players of Glatt, which is Sean William Scott, and LaFlemme, of the guy who has all the talent but is kind of throwing it all away, and the guy who doesn't really have any talent but is trying to just be part of the team. As far as the humor elements in this movie, it was great. It starts out with a cold open of just trash talking on the blue line right before a puck drop, and it goes right into, you know, aggression and into the hockey game. The movie is incredibly Canadian. The Trailer Park Boys, the TV station crew, one of the hockey montages they have in it is during Rush's Working Man, and the F word is used 231 times in the film, which I thought was hilarious. I actually had to look it up because about 10 minutes in, I was like, I feel like they've used up all the quota of the F words.
You're trying to do a tally, yeah.
Yeah, I really was, and I had to Google it, and I was like, just 231 times. There's just some great jokes in this. One of my favorites was whenever Scott Glatt shows up for his tryout, he's wearing figure skates, and he comes out on the ice, he's kind of falling over, and the hockey team's laughing at him, and Jay stands up and says, "Be nice, there is gay brothers skates." And I thought it was funny. And whenever he says, "Pick the number 69," it's hilarious. He's yelling that from the stands, which I thought was great. In the locker room scene when he's meeting the goalie says two things: "Stay away from my Percocets," and "Do you have any Percocets?" which I thought was funny. There's just so many great little hockey quippy lines in this movie. Tons of great back and forth. Actual great hockey play too. I know some of the other movies that mentioned, there's a lot of movie kind of shot hockey scenes that probably wouldn't happen in an actual game. It seemed though, as in Goon, a lot of the fighting situations, a lot of the checking, the puck play was a lot more realistic than I've seen in several other hockey films. And overall, I really enjoyed this. It reminded me a lot of some of the enforcers that the Pittsburgh Penguins had in the past, like Ulf Samuelsson, George Laraque, Eric Goddard, and many others.
So yeah, like you stated, it didn't make any money, but it became a cult classic, so it did get the sequel spun there. So Lynda, this was filmed right up in your area. Well, I guess north of you, Manitoba, but all throughout Manitoba, Brandon, Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So a couple
I've
different
certainly
places.
shot in those places.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very cold. It can be very cold. Like
So
yeah.
How cold does it get? Just because I'm wondering.
Okay, I was doing a movie there in 2002, and the wind chill was -40.
Okay.
To the point where like you went outside and immediately your nose froze together, your eyelashes get crystals on them, and the sound person who is, you know, they sit there with the sliders, they're listening as the scenes are going on, they're trying to balance the sound recording. This was a female, I can't remember her name, but she had put crazy glue on all her fingertips because her fingers had cracked from the cold. I just thinking about it, I guess it makes me crazy. That was the only way she could touch the knobs and work because her fingers were cracked open. Which reminds me another tie-in with the Mighty Ducks. Dallas Eakin, who was their coach for a number of years. His wife is a friend of mine. And one time Ingrid Cavallars and we were rooming together in Los Angeles. And Dallas was coaching pretty sure it was the Canucks farm team were in Winnipeg back then. I think that was the Canucks farm team. Anyway, he called one day. We're in sunny Los Angeles. La 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 la. Yeah. Dallas called to say that Winnipeg was the coldest place in the world at that particular moment. The wind chill was -50, and the only place open was the ice rink where he had to go to work and coach these poor little guys. Anyway, that ties him in with the Ducks and all that kind of stuff. I just realized that. Goon, did Jay Baruchel, did he direct that?
I don't think that he was a director, but I think he has a producer credit on it.
I feel like because
he might.
When did the first one come out again?
2011.
My friend George Cherkoff was in the second Goon, and him and Jay Baruchel are really good friends. And I feel like Jay directed the second one, because he cast George in it. And George played, I think he was supposed to be like Romanian or Czech. And he had a very strong accent. I don't remember what.
Oh yeah, he did help out directing. It's Michael Dowse and Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Anyway, I love that movie too. I mean, I love hockey. Any chance I can go to see the Canucks, I go. This is a kind of cool thing. My grandson is, like I said before, a really avid hockey player, and just last year before Christmas, there was what the Canucks do when they have home games is they put out an offer to junior teams in the city. Would any of the kids like to come and skate with the Canucks in the warm up? So my grandson got to skate with the Canucks, which was just like, they're all giant, and he's an 11-year-old kid. And then they stand on the blue line, I think, for the anthems, and they were playing, I can't remember, I think they were playing national, so there was two anthems, American and Canadian. And when my grandson went to take his helmet off, because they hold their helmet to their chest, he dropped his glove. The player next to him picked up the glove and handed it back to him. And then there's this wonderful shot on the Canucks social media of my grandson and Pedersen standing there with their hand on their heart, staring at the flag. And so my brother got that picture blown up, and he knew someone in the Canucks organization. So Pedersen actually signed it for my grandson. And on Christmas
wow.
Day, Aiden opened this and went, actually, I've got the picture here because I got a copy myself. Yeah, it was just a really incredible moment for my grandson because he went, "Oh, nice picture of me," and he signed it. He was just like, yeah. So it was awesome. I mean, who knows? Hockey's such a good thing for kids because it gives them a purpose and a direction and team. I think it's wonderful. Anyway, I digress. Did I answer the question about Mighty Ducks? I don't know if I did.
Yeah, we were talking Goon, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Then somehow Manitoba came up, and then I went back to Mighty Duck Land. Yes.
Well, let's move into our vote. Brian, who you taking? Can't pick your own, guys.
Oh man, I'm really torn. I mean, I love all these movies, but we're talking comedy, and I don't think. I mean, there's not many actual sports movies. Period. It made me laugh more than Slapshot. So I'm going to go with Slapshot.
Okay. Steven.
I have to agree with my brother on that. I mean, as much as there's the charm and my, emotional attachment of growing up in the 90s with Mighty Ducks, Mystery Alaska is a good film, and Goon being what it is. I mean, Slapshot just has so many great moments. I mean, I've seen since they started putting out Chiefs jerseys, you could buy almost every NHL game. You see somebody, who has a Chiefs jersey on, Hanson Brothers and stuff. It's such a part of the fabric of hockey, I think. And when it comes to the trash talking and the back and forth, I think it was an introduction, during a time in America whenever hockey wasn't that big, that kind of brought a lot of people into the fold. So I'm definitely gonna have to go with Slapshot.
Boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I think it's by far the funniest of the night. It's a great movie, and yeah, the Chiefs jersey. My goalie in 7th or 8th and 9th grade wore a Chiefs jersey and goal. So
Oh wow.
yeah, I'm taking Slapshot. Rollo, you're the only one who can't pick that movie. Who are you picking?
Since I can't pick that movie, I think Goon.
Okay. Lynda, I assume from what you said, you're taking Slapshot as your funniest.
Yeah, I think so. It was just that time in the 70s, the Canucks were just forming, and I lived really close to the initial or the original arena that they were going to play in. I went to one of the first games in 1971. My grandson literally, there's it's a fairground that we have up here. And so the Coliseum is right there. They don't play there anymore, but literally right next to the Coliseum is a building called the Agrodome. And that's where my grandson has his hockey practices every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. So, and I remember going, this is crazy, but my sister used to work in a hair salon, and one of her clients was a woman named Mrs. Griffiths. And Mrs. Griffiths' husband paid for the Canucks. He actually put up the money to start an NHL team in Vancouver. We used to get free tickets to go see the Canucks. And in fact, down where they play now, it's called Rogers Arena. It's sponsored by a huge cell phone conglomerate. There's Griffith's Way in their honor. Yeah, so anyway, I tend to digress, but all of a sudden when I talk, I have all these little connecting things happening. But yeah, Slapshot. And I'm also a huge Paul Newman fan. He's one of my favorite actors ever. And I just,
Makes
I felt like I was cheering for him to get his miserable life together. Right? Yeah.
he makes great salad dressing too, so he's got that going on.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so that's a win for Rollo. So let's move into our Q&A. We'll go Rollo, Steve, and Brian, me.
Lynda, you worked with what to me one of the funniest people that ever lived, fellow Canadian Frank Drebin, Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Tell me what was like with him on set, and was he as funny in real life as he is on camera?
And that was my second time working with Leslie Nielsen. I got to play his wife in a movie in 1996. It was a remake of an old Jimmy Stewart movie called Harvey. And Leslie Nielsen played Dr. Chumley. And he had some strange accent that he put on this. I can't even, he just decided he'd have an accent. It was sort of German-y kind of accent because he was playing this Dr. Chumley. Anyways, I was his trophy wife, Mrs. Chumley, Dahlia. And the first day of rehearsal, because we got to rehearse this movie, he shook my hand and he had a fart machine in his hand. You know, classic Leslie Nielsen. Everywhere he goes, he either puts this one on your chair or he shakes your hand and a big fart comes out and you're kind of going. So that was my introduction to Leslie Nielsen. And one day I just said, what's the deal with that machine of yours? Because I'd heard about this and other people I know had worked with him. He said, levels the playing field. Please, what do you mean? What do you mean? He goes, I've been on sets with big, huge stars and big, huge egos. And once that machine comes out and I let it rip, so to speak, everyone's even. I loved that about him. And so it was lovely to be reunited when he was playing, I think he was playing the mayor of the town. Yeah. And that was the last I saw him because he passed away not that long after we shot that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stephen.
He was great.
Well, first before my question, Miss Boyd, I just want to say that you have very, very impressive IMDb and career. You were in two of my all-time favorite made-for-TV movies, which are Marvel's Generation X and Sweetwater, were two cult classics, which I was really excited whenever I was looking through and realized that you were in them. But I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with you, and that's you're responsible for one of my phobias, which is elevators, from your famous scene in Final Destination 2. My job's that I have to travel in hotels and airports a lot, and every single time I get in an elevator, that's all I can think of is that scene.
Me too.
And obviously,
out, to be honest.
Yeah, and obviously the logging truck scene in Final Destination 2. I know everybody who's ever seen that movie. If you get behind a truck on the highway and they have logs or any kind of heavy equipment on it, you always want to get in the other lane. I guess my question from that is, and I guess you kind of answered it. Do you have any new phobias after filming, or have you ever, thought about watch some of the other Final Destination movies and, kind of develop fears like I had from your elevator scene?
I have watched other movies from that series. That movie, the one we did, they're actually shooting number 6 right now, right in Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
Just down the street from me, there's a film studio called The Bridge. And they're shooting part of it there. My sister is doing hair on the movie because she's been a hairdresser in the film for many, many years. That death scene apparently is one of the most famous death scenes on the internet. Because, I mean, it's pretty disturbing. Now, the funny thing about that was it was a low budget movie when we did it in 2002. And they didn't want to cough up the 30 grand to make a prosthetic head for me. So I literally had to lie in the elevator on the floor with my feet up against the wall. And the makeup artist painted my face gray so it looked like all the blood had drained out of me, and stare into the camera while it did this slow. Oh God, I gotta blink. Sorry, guys. Anyway, that took about a week to film, just that piece, because we would practice. They'd weigh me during the day, and then I'd get on this cantilever thing. So as the elevator was pulling my head up, this cantilever was pulling me up, and then yeah, and the weird thing is that's impossible to happen on an elevator. Like if you walk into an elevator, you try and get on one that's closing, the door automatically opens up again.
Yeah.
That's just doesn't happen. But I guess when your number's up, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Linda, in Virgin River, you play a woman named Lily. As the story unfolds, Lily realizes that she has cancer. As I understand it, you read the memoirs of the legendary Jeopardy host Alex Trebek to
Yeah.
sort of help you mentally prepare for this role. And I mean, I love that guy. God
Um,
rest his soul. But would you tell our audience a little bit more about what that role was like for you?
It was awful, to be honest. I had just lost my sister to colon cancer, and I just did not want to even say that word at the time. And so when the producers called me and said, "Oh, we've got this amazing storyline for you. If you die in episode 8," I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, I didn't have a lot of fun doing that. What I would do is I'd learn the lines like so that I could say them in my sleep. Just learn them, and then I wouldn't think about it. And I just get to set and see what came out of me because I didn't really want to talk about it. Um, yeah, that was hard. That was hard. And but what the good that came out of it was um it kind of got people talking about cancer, like that particular type. Um, and I had a lot of people direct messaging me just to say that it helped them deal with some grief over losing, a family member or a dear friend for that. Yeah, but I didn't enjoy that at all. Although I am wearing the sweatshirt that I got in season 3 from Netflix. Anyway, yeah, that's my answer. Not fun.
So you're a singer as well as an actor. You've been in musicals. I saw a Rocky Horror Picture Show, Little Shop of Horrors, Guys and Dolls. What are the challenges as an actor working in a musical and making sure that your voice is prepared every night to go out there and do that show?
That's why I don't do it anymore because it's too stressful. I used to tour with a rock and roll band back in the, I'm going to say early 80s. Yeah, it was 83. I toured it all over Western Canada. And when you're singing 6 nights a week in a bar, from usually 10 till 2 in the morning and staying up all night going, wow, I'm a rock and roller now, I'm going to party. And then after months of doing that, all of a sudden it's like, oh boy, I can't hit that note anymore. Yeah, I basically lost my voice. Now I've worked around the fact that I have nodes on my vocal cords, and I have a new singing teacher right now because I'm wanting to. I've got a pilot idea that with some friends of mine that we're going to shoot in April for a comedy pilot, and my character is a singing nun, and so I want to be able to sing clearly and folk kind of songs. Oh, that's my train of thought. It happens a lot, but I'm a senior citizen now, so I just go with it.
If one of the
Yeah.
nuns is flying, it's been done before. Just
I'm
saying.
not going to fly, but there has
Okay.
been a singing nun. When I was a kid, there was a singing nun on the radio, and her song was Dominique, Dominique, Niki. I can't even remember the song, but she was known as the singing nun. She also had a big hit with Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's all I remember, but she rocked out on the Lord's Prayer.
Nice. But one more each, guys. Same order.
Say what? Okay, good.
Linda, you've been in a lot of roles, a lot of shows. What role did you have that means the most to you?
I don't know. I mean, ironically, the Virgin River thing actually did mean a lot after the fact because of the way people responded to it. But like you mean most like, oh, I'm so grateful that I got to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Republic of Doyle because one of the things I'd always wanted because I kind of came to acting late. I didn't start really to my mid-30s. I had to learn how to act for film and TV because I'd done theater. In theater, you're playing to the back row. Film and TV is the opposite, but I didn't understand how to do it. So mid-30s, started doing some film and TV. My goal was always to be a series regular. And I got really frustrated at one point and I wanted to quit, and I was going to become a real estate agent. But I'm not doing this acting thing anymore. It's too, I don't even know where my next job is today, even. But I've got used to, how to deal with my mind and thoughts. And so one of the things I do is I focus on, what do I want to manifest? Like the law of attraction. What do I want? What do I want, universe? What do I want? And then let the universe take care of the details. And I wanted a series regular show, and that was Republic of Doyle. When I was 48 years old, I finally got my miracle. So that to me, and plus the people I met on that show, that was 6 years in St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm Canadian, and they'd never been past Toronto. I didn't even know how far Newfoundland was, but it was pretty far. It's like 12 hours door to door. And it's a 4.5 hour time change. Like you guys are 3 hours ahead of me. Newfoundland is 4.5 hours ahead because they're kind of stuck in between two time zones. The people that I met on that, I worked on that from 2009 to 2014. They're still my friends. Like one of them lives in Dublin. The two ladies live in Ontario, and I'm here. So we get together every couple of months and we do this. We sit on Zoom and check in with each other because those people are still like in my heart. Some of the best people I've ever met and been lucky enough to work with.
Lynda, you worked for so many different major networks of ABC, NBC, CW, the cable networks like Sci-Fi, Showtime, and now are working with some of the big streamers like Netflix. Do you find the actors' experience to be different between these different variations of TV, or do you feel that it's pretty much the same process for you and your experience, and maybe it's more of a production difference?
What was the last little part you said there?
I said, do you feel that it's a different experience for you on the acting side, or is just different for the production experience?
I think it's the same for me because it's a production company hires all the crew. If it's a streamer or a network, they hire the actors or okay the actors. It's the same, I would say, for me.
Okay.
Yep. As an actor, it's just like, show up, know your lines, be on time, be nice to everybody. That's kind of what Tom Hanks says to young actors starting out. Yeah. So it's the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Lynda, the X-Files is definitely one of the most successful, overall best shows of the 1990s. You were able to appear on that show a couple of times. So, what was it like to work with that talented cast?
Well, I only ever got to work with David Duchovny's character. For whatever reason, I can't even remember if I met Scully. I don't even think I met her. Gillian Anderson. What was great about that was one of my first jobs in film and TV, and I was nervous as all heck, but it hadn't come out yet. Like, I think I was in episode 4 or 5 of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody even knew what the X-Files was. It was just this show that was shooting in Vancouver. And I really like the fact that Chris Carter, he really embraced the acting community here in Vancouver. Not all, showrunners do that. But he absolutely, you've been on my show once. Yeah, come play another character. So the character I played the second season was a completely different character. Until that show came out, none of us knew what a worldwide phenomenon it would be. And it's one of the reasons why Vancouver became Hollywood North, because the look of that show, I mean, it rains here a lot. We live in a rainforest, just like Seattle, and it's like it rains about 70% of the time. But the cinematographer had a way of shooting the exteriors, and it just created this grainy, gray, creepy, like, ooh, where are you guys? And that all of a sudden, everybody wanted to shoot here. And that was like a haven for a gold rush for us local actors who had finally figured out how to be on TV as opposed to on stage. The fact that Chris Carter was so generous to all of us and rehired so many people. Yeah, it was a great experience, a great first experience of doing this.
That actually delves into my question here a little bit because Vancouver, it is the hotbed for CW shows. I saw that you've done Supernatural, Supergirl. You were on Arrow too for one, weren't you? Was
I
it
did
Arrow?
like a three episode arc on Arrow.
Arrow's 3 episodes, and then the big one, did an episode of Smallville, and
Oh yeah.
I got John Glover right behind me here.
Oh yeah.
Autograph.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
So,
nice.
you know, you interacting with him, I don't know if you remember that episode of Smallville. I know it's going a little way back, but
It was 20 years ago. I think I shot that.
I thought your guys' chemistry in some of those scenes was fantastic because he's like trying to manipulate you. And, you know, you were playing kind of like, you know, someone who had lost their mind, but it was all Lionel's fault. And I really loved it. So I just wanted to hear what your experiences was, you know, working for the CW universe in general.
Well, it's interesting because I'm on the CW again now in a show called Sullivan's Crossing. And I'm with a couple of alumni from CW, Chad Michael Murray and Scott Patterson. We shoot this show in Halifax. And it was a Canadian network that started it or aired it first, and then the CW grabbed it and said, "Okay, we want that on our channel as well." But the whole Marvel thing, it's gone. Like they packed up and that's it. I mean, Superman and Lois is the only one left here. My friend plays a character on it. She said that this is the last season. I know a lot of the stunt men in this city, stunt people, women and men, are kind of going, "Oh, what a drag," because that hired a lot of them, you know, for all the stunt type stuff. Yeah, you know, it's so funny. It's not my bag. Like I don't really dig that kind of stuff. I guess is it sci-fi? I don't even know what it is. Is that the genre?
Yeah, I guess superheroes. Yeah.
Yeah, superhero. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of not my thing, but hey, I'll do the job. If someone's offering me a job, sure, I'll do it. But yeah, CW's changing though, because now they're not doing those kind of shows anymore, and I'm not sure why, but they're buying a ton of Canadian stuff. I think because the actors' strike and the writers' strike last year put a big dent in, you know, anything that they could produce. They're you know, buying up Canadian series left, right, and center, which is great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, did I answer
Well,
that?
thank you so much for coming on.
I should have warned you.
No, it's great. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you coming on, Lynda.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was fun.
A reminder, everybody, hit that like, subscribe, notification button. We'll see everybody next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.